Shabbat Shalom. Moral conundrum. Why be good? I know it sounds pretty obvious. Why be good? Well, the Torah is right behind me. It says be good. The Siddur in your hands says be good. You can probably hear the sound of your parents saying be good. But that doesn't actually explain why. It just explains who's told you to be good. Now, for many people, this question boils down to, well, I'm as good as I need to be. That is to say, I will be good because I'm afraid of being caught. I am afraid of the punishment, the consequences, the results of my misbehavior. If I steal from somebody and get caught, that's worse to me than whatever gain I might have made from stealing. If I break faith with my loving partner, well, and I get caught, then that's going to cause a whole lot of surus that I really don't want, and I don't want it as much as the other person that's currently tempting me at the moment. Many people do this calculation, the risk-reward calculation. But I think we're all adult enough here to recognize that many people think the risk is worth, or the reward is worth the risk. That, you know what? Put a big enough opportunity to steal in front of me, and maybe I'll roll those dice. I mean, after all, the cops can't catch everyone, and if this means I've got $1 billion, maybe it's worth taking that risk. And so it's not really a foolproof explanation for why you should be good. Because, well, we look around, we see many people rolling those dice every single day, and indeed, for some of them, they've even made it an online betting platform. Sorry, commodities exchange. But perhaps there is another reason why be good. What if it's not about my fear of direct punishment? What if I'm a little bit more broad-minded and I am worried about the consequences eventually catching up to me in less direct prosecutorial ways? So, for example, I should behave well at my office because if I don't, others won't, and if we all behave badly, the entire company goes bust, and now I'm out of a job. It's not that I would directly be caught and punished, but I can recognize that my behavior could have an impact on the community, the workplace, the family, the society, and that can cause problems. So, for the benefit of myself still, I will refrain from doing bad if I am worried that it might continue to contribute to a degradation of society which could end up causing me harm as well. Still a very selfish motive for doing good, and still very flawed. Because for many people, they may believe that their own actions are not consequential enough to ever tip the scale of society towards chaos and anarchy that would end up being a problem. I mean, after all, if I slack off a little bit at the office, is that really going to bring down the whole company? I mean, I'm not that important a cog within this giant machine. So, you know what? How about if I just grab a little nap here rather than doing what I was hired to do? Or vice versa. Yeah, you know, so I'm skimming a little bit off my employees' paychecks, holding on to their tips. Yeah, I know it's not right, but is it really going to cause the collapse of society? I'm just a small business owner after all. Don't I deserve these perks? The answer to both those questions is no, but for those that are entertaining this thought, the threat of societal collapse or of something coming back and causing trouble for them may not be enough to keep them from doing wrong. They may still find this unconvincing. And don't get me started on empathy, where the idea might be that I could convince someone to do what is right because you would hate if it was done to you. The famous maxim, what is hateful to you, don't do to others, is brilliant and a little preaching to the choir, because people that already have a high degree of empathy are unlikely to commit transgressions that are going to hurt other people. And the reminder is nice, but probably not needed for them and probably not effective for those that are in true need of that kind of counsel. But of all the different lists of why be good, the one that is often ignored and yet extremely powerful comes in this week's double parasha of Acharei Kedoshim, in particular in Kedoshim. Kedoshim, as many of you probably know because it is such a ubiquitous word, is from the root for being holy. And it comes in this idea in the parasha that we will be holy, that God is calling the entire nation of Israel to be holy. And that seems like a very strange introduction to what is primarily a large collection of laws. What does holiness have to do with me obeying the rules? Surely you're going to threaten me, right, God? Surely you're going to entice me. Reward, punishment, some kind of guilt trip. That's the classic Jewish technique. What's this holiness business, and how is this meant to convince me to do what is good? Well, in context, what God is trying to tell us is that we must remember who and what we truly are. Because many of the mistakes that we make, many of the errors that we commit in life are precipitated based upon the assumption that what matters is instant and trivial self-gratification. That what I want now in the material world, how I'm going to get myself to feel slightly better today than I did earlier, is the entire measure of the success of the day or of my life. But the holiness call, this is reminding us that we were not put on earth just in order to titillate our bodies to the highest degree. Hedonism is not the primary function of good for humanity. This was not the plan for creation. Instead, it was that a soul, a spark of holiness, could inhabit a body in this world, could travel through this world, and through its experiences, its encounters, and its choices, find a way to grow that holiness into something more than it started with, something that is absolutely magical and miraculous. And when we consider ourselves as being a holy being, when we imagine ourselves as truly being the spark of the divine, then we can begin to see how that can work to prevent us from committing these errors. Steal $500, steal $1,000, steal $1 billion? What good does that do me? The real me, not me, my bank account me, not me, my stock portfolio me, not me, my Lamborghini desiring me, but the real me, the part of me that is eternal, the part of me that will outlast even $1 billion, the holy that's in me. What good would this do? What good would cheating on my spouse, what good would cheating on my taxes do the real me? If I conceive of myself as not some clever monkey that's simply trying to grab more bananas, but as a truly holy creature, then I would not dare, I would not deign to lower myself to the level of committing such acts. They are literally beneath me, no matter how tempting they may appeal to the more monkey parts of myself. This is the center parasha of the entire Torah. There is an equal amount in front and an equal amount behind. This is the pivot point in God's revelation. And it balances on that idea, that we are called to recognize the holiness with which we were created, and to use it not merely to feel ourselves superior to the beasts, but to recognize that as we walk through this world, we are so much better than our worst impulses on our worst days. That we are truly gifted with something that is eternal and something that is exquisite. And that when we transgress, we gain nothing. And we obscure just that little bit more, that light of holiness that God planted within each of us. So on Shabbat, look for that holiness because it is more palpable during these hours than any others. And remember, whenever you are faced with a decision, whether it be large or small, you are holy. You are holy. Shabbat Shalom.